Doesn't a nice, tidy, decluttered home sound incredible? Yet you've been trying for a while and you keep getting stuck. Well, I have got you covered with 5 genius tips to help you get over that hurdle that is keeping you a mess so you can get to your clean and organized home. So here's a big one. When we moved into our house, we had a room full of boxes. Have you ever had that? Boxes that stay for 6 months, a year, or years. I literally thought everybody had a box room. I thought that's just what belonged under the stairs. Every time I would try to declutter, it was completely overwhelming. Boxes of doom filled with random things, and it felt impossible to tackle. So we would just leave them there, and we actually left them there for like 3 years. Here's the thing. If it's in a box, you probably don't need it. You've lived so long without it. At least I did for 3 years. And if you didn't go looking for it, you didn't need it. If it's sentimental, add it to your curated collection and actually honor that sentimental thing, because you're not like, why are we keeping sentimental things if we're keeping them in a box? And I like the idea of making the sentimental collection kind of small, like curated, right? Now I know that we can all open up these boxes and we will come across things and we're like, oh my gosh, I could use this one day. But here's the thing, you don't. If it's in a box, you probably don't need it. The whole point is to get rid of the extra stuff. Do you have crammed closets, the kind where you're like, ugh, like try to find stuff in there? Maybe there's like a super cute dress buried in the back, but you only use the things that are in the front or just at the very surface. The solution is weird. Okay, so the solution is to buy more. Well, let me explain. So I bought this dress on Amazon and I regretted it as soon as I took it out of the envelope. Why? Well, it doesn't fit the way I wanted it to. The material, it's not the best quality, and the look was kind of meh. So I realized I had made a mistake. Now, as long as I can remember, I had been looking for the best deal on things that I ever could so that I could buy more. So I would be like, oh, I want like this cute dress from Amazon. And that way I could get two because the price is less. But here's the thing, like the quality isn't as good. And I actually ended up with a bunch of extra stuff. Now I see things more differently. Buy more quality over quantity. Because, first of all, there's going to be some long-term savings. Investing in high-quality items reduces the need for frequent replacements, saving money over time, which is awesome. That's kind of what I was trying to do anyway. Durability. Quality items are often way more durable and reliable, ensuring that they last longer and perform better, which of course also saves money. And sustainability, fewer, better made items. It contributes to less environmental waste, which promotes a much more sustainable lifestyle. So sure, it might cost you a little more upfront, but you are going to buy less, which means less stuff and less spending. And you can take that to the bank. Here is a big one. Now, do you ever find that you are jumping from thing to thing like an excited kitten who just can't decide what toys to play with? Sometimes I find myself cleaning up the kitchen, then I decide I'm gonna just make some tea. Then I find myself scrolling on Instagram, then I'm writing an email, then I start folding laundry. Next thing I know, I'm watching a show and I still haven't even finished cleaning the kitchen. So I felt busy, but I actually wasn't getting anything done. And I was just really frustrated and feeling like something was wrong with me. So lately, I have been trying to do things a little bit more differently. I started doing things slower. I started doing meal prep all at once. Like I would just spend an hour just prepping meals. That was it. Maybe I'd be listening to my AirPods. Or I would do 15 minutes of tidying. And I will even like set a timer and say to myself, you aren't doing anything until that timer goes, except for what you've planned, like 15 minutes of decluttering or whatever. I love the idea of batching tasks. And I think that maybe this seems like an old hack, but really this is something that people have done for a really long time, but we have forgotten in this day and age. There's just so much distraction. There seem to be so many things to do. And it's actually really nice because then I can just focus on something. I can relax into the task and I can feel accomplished and I get way more done. I feel like I spend much less time doing it and I have more free time too. Don't mind my kitchen. The cupboards are being fixed. There was some paint coming off. So I used to have a lot of clutter and there were crammed cupboards, there were piles all over the place, and I dreaded finding places for things after Christmas or after shopping. I would actually let them sit out for a really long time. Like under the Christmas tree, stuff would sit for weeks. And even just during the year, we would buy something, it would sit out. Soon it just became part of the room. And no wonder I was stressed. I realized that I was not thinking about where things would go, which was a huge cause of clutter. I love the idea of limiting things to any given space. Dana K. White, I think she calls it the container method. I will have to look that up. And it is absolutely perfect because whatever fits in there, that's it. No more. And the other thing is when I would go shopping and I would see things on sale and I would be like, oh, look at this. I would bring it home and I would have nowhere to put it, which then made more clutter. So now before I buy anything, I think, where is this going to go? The other thing is I often will just be like, I mean, unless it's something I know I need and I know exactly where it's going to go, I will truly wait like 24 hours before I even decide. But I love the idea of limitations because if you think about it this way, look at limitations as a guideline. A lot of people, they hate that. And this is one of the things I would say when I talk about schedules because those are great limitations. They're comforting. Like a bowling alley. If you take a little kid bowling, they'll put the bumpers up because these poor children, they are just throwing a ball down a bowling alley and it is just going to go straight in the gutter. Well, that's no fun for anybody. Think of limitations, like limitations in your space as basically those bumpers. They're keeping you on track and it's so handy. Limitations are good. It's good to know where you're going to put things and just to have a confined sort of like defined space. When I decided that I wanted to declutter my home, I was disorganized. I would feel super frustrated with the state of my home and trying to declutter here and there. It just felt like I just made like a little bit of progress. Then I would get overwhelmed and I would stop. And then the next time I would start and then something else, some random would happen and I would come across something that overwhelmed me or I would be back in the room of boxes and I just got overwhelmed and would stop again. So there was no order or sense to the whole process. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just starting willy-nilly and it just didn't make sense. So what I needed a plan. So I think a decluttering calendar with regular donations is the key. So what I like to do, make a list of what needs to be decluttered and work at it. So decide that you're going to do, say, 15 minutes on this day and 15 minutes on that day. So maybe you're like on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, those are the days when I declutter. And what's great is say you're like, oh, I missed Monday. You can be like, okay, I'm going to pick it up on Tuesday. Or you just don't. And then next week you do Monday. It's fine. And then another problem is then we end up with piles of stuff to be donated. And then our family comes along and they're like, oh my gosh, look at this. You're going to declutter this. Oh. And then they take it and it gets picked away at and nothing changes. And you're just left with like sort of like a box filled with like an old sweater and like a couple of mugs that don't have things that go with them. And it's just a really big mess. So what I like the idea is to also schedule in the days that you're going to drop things off. Now I point to Saturday because that is often a day where I am going to take things in. Actually, when I get my nails painted, because I like to get gel nails because I'm like chippy otherwise, that's where I donate my stuff. It's right by where I get my nails done. So I know when I'm getting my nails done, I can drop off some donations. And if you are like, okay, I'm going to do it on Saturdays, like I'm actively decluttering my house, you set a reminder on your phone to bring stuff in on Saturday. And I think that is just so handy. Set the reminder for like before you go out. And then you're like, oh yeah, that's so handy. Another thing that keeps so many people stuck is not knowing where to start, how to decide what to keep. I have a whole system right here. This video, it answers all of your questions. My whole decluttering system, it will get you there and you will be living in a dream decluttered home. Stay tidy and mighty. I hope something great happens for you today. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye.